we would break it down with just temporary fence. We have a lease property up the road and we break it down. We don't have any interior fence, we just have exterior fence. And you set enough temporary fencing, you learn how to do it pretty quickly. For me, this run here, it took about 3 minutes to set. You know, so you can do it relatively quickly. I know some folks, they say, well, I enjoy setting fence. That's fine. But if I want to spend time with my animals, I'd rather not do it setting fence. You know, I would just soon set the fence, and if I want to spend time with them, I'd feed my old crackhead some corn there or something. Yeah, that's made from a 55-gallon tank. Just cut in half. Yeah. And then I actually sell those tanks. I've started selling them, shipping them all over the US. I make the stainless steel band with the 4 handles on it, and then there's a valve protector inside it, and then there's a support. The problem with the 55-gallon tanks is you almost have to have a support on the valve because the material's so thin that in the heat of the summer, that valve will want to twist in there a little bit. That's pretty much how, but I do have YouTube videos showing folks how to build that tank if they want to. And actually, if you look in the not the comments, the description, I have links to purchase everything you need to. I guess I've started making and selling those out of necessity. You know, not everybody wants to build stuff. Not everybody has the skill set to build stuff, or they just don't have time to build stuff. There's folks out there. The only problem that I hate with building tanks and selling them all over the US is boxing them damn things up. They are tough to get boxed up. So I save all this cardboard and looking for it.
You can just connect that Redbird 1/2 inch. You just have an adapter to the garden hose size.
Yeah, the 1/2 inch, what I do is I buy an adapter that's 3/4 inch garden hose for on that 1/2 inch. Yeah. And I actually have a YouTube video on that light, which in the description, it should have links to buy the pipe and everything you need.
How do you feed water in the wintertime?
Okay, yeah, you know, that's a great question. I've had a lot of people ask me, and I wanted to touch more or talk more about this. This valve here is a valve that I'm going to make this cold so you guys can lean over and take a look. Yeah. Okay, this valve here, on the aspect of, I grew up in an old farmhouse where you went to bed at night, you cracked the faucet on and you let the water drip so it didn't freeze. I have this needle valve on the pressure side of the tank. Turn that on in the wintertime, that water flowing through, taking the geothermal heat out of the ground, keeps it from freezing. And I'll actually point this up towards the float. See how that's pointed towards the float? If it gets down to around 0, you'll have a hole about a foot round that's open, and then you'll have like a 1/2 inch ice around the rest of it. Cows, sheep, whatever, after they drink the first time, that ice just falls down in and breaks. It's not a big deal. We have that on, it runs. Now we can't run it off. Well, I had a guy that contacted me that ran it off a 160-foot garden hose in 10 degrees and didn't freeze up. He used this valve. He was just tickled pink, but it's too far for me. Hydrants down here. I put about a 15-foot garden hose on it, and then if you go to Home Depot, and I think even Walmart, you can get insulation that you can put over top of your garden hose. Okay, and I go buy, actually I bought it at a yard sale. I bought 2 boxes of it for $8, but snap that on the pipe, and then the hydrant, I have a wooden post that comes out. It's screwed to the wooden post so the cows can't knock it loose if they get up against it. But I just snap that on the pipe, and then I just turn that on and it doesn't freeze.
And then it just overflows.
Yeah, it overflows, and actually I have a fitting that usually hooks into a garden hose. Somebody come by and he needed one, so I just took it out and gave it to him. It's not there right now, but I'll put a short garden hose to where it will go about 10 feet, and I'll just take it through the fence to where the water that flows out will flow out over here, and we don't have this turn to mud or ice. I've seen it get so icy the cows would slip. I put that on there, put that short hose.
To insulate the top of yours.
I used to insulate it and wrap tape on it, put a 55-gallon barrel over it. I did a lot of stuff, and it's completely unnecessary.
I was gonna say, we when it's been like 15 degrees out, because we're not running like this. An old boot, it fits over perfect.
You know what? That would be, I'll bet that would work good. Hey, there's buttons. Here's buttons. Yeah, this is buttons. That heifer right there is her aunt. This one here, this bigger one. Yeah, I haven't seen them for 20 days, and I come over and look at them, and I'm like, damn, those calves are nice. Because if you see them all the time, you just don't really notice it. But yeah, I come over and I had a guy that wanted to buy a bull off me. And I have one here, and he's like, oh, what do you want for that heifer? What do you want for this heifer? It's like, well, I can't really sell them.
What is your sales channel?
My sales? I sell breeding stock, mainly. Breeding stock. And now, naturally, not everything makes breeding stock. You know, I would say only 70% might make breeding stock, or maybe even a little bit less than that, because I am pretty fussy. Do you care if I share the story about the one bull I wouldn't sell you? Okay, Ray's bought several bulls from me, and he came over and picked one out, and I kept it for him for, I don't know, a couple months, whatever, until he was ready for it. And when we got the bull separated out, he didn't have the disposition that I was comfortable for somebody to have. Because you know, a lot of folks would just put that bull on a trailer and take it, and I wasn't comfortable. I called Ray up and I said, hey, Ray, I can't sell you that bull. And I think that's exactly what I said.
I've been happy with all the animals I bought from you.
Yeah.
Very happy.
You know, I can't sell you that bull, and so we found another one, and you know, I made it right. So that's makes a big difference to people that buy from you. You know, I'm sure if I would have give Ray a mean bull from the get-go, he probably would have only bought one bull, and that would be it. Yeah,
I have one on order right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, he's got one on order right now. And I've been, you know, the way we take care of our livestock, we call the cows that can't do it on the farm, you know, the ones that, you know, because feeding stockpile to March 1st, by March 1st, eating grass out here, the quality isn't quite so good. So we need cows and animals that are going to excel on that and do well. So people have recognized that, because Angus are not typically known for being able to go out there and get it done on grass and grass alone. You know, typically your Angus cattle are a high input animal that requires something more than just grass. And we had some of those cows here on the farm, and they've called themselves out. And usually that happens with no breeds. Usually they'll call themselves out the first couple years. One year we actually called 25% of the herd when we first started transitioning. But now we're in. For a while there, I was shooting, I want them to eat grass like this. You know, it's a little bit rougher. I want them to eat grass like this, and I want them to be able to breed back. So the ones that don't breed back, and our success rate or our breed backs are the highest that they've ever been. Last year it was 97%, and my goal is to only have 90% breed back. If I have higher than 90% breed back, that means I didn't work the cows hard enough. Meaning I had them in too high a quality of forage to get them bred back. Now that kind of sounds counterintuitive for a business model, but folks have recognized this herd of cows, because we're shipping cows from Vermont to Tennessee to, I guess the furthest west we have gone is just on the other side of Ohio, but we've pretty much covered the eastern seaboard with our cattle. And we don't really advertise per se. You know, when I'm doing a YouTube video, I show the cows and whatnot, but you don't see me really saying, hey, I got these cows, I got to sell them. That's not something I typically do. I'm under the opinion, if you have a good enough quality of a product, you don't have to have a lot of advertising. So
Is there a certain bloodline or?
I started basically with Y blood, old Y blood. Okay, the University of Y, it's in Maryland. They have a herd. Actually, they have 3 herds of cows now. Back in the early 80s, Y started breeding the cattle up to be a bigger size because that's what everybody wanted for the feedlots and whatnot. And they still want that for the feedlots. But before then, they had this small cow like old Crackhead here, you know, the small short cow that looked like she swallowed, you know, 3 55-gallon drums. You know, they had that animal. So I've sought out those genetics and pretty much stayed with that older line of Y genetics. Now we do have some Pine Bank. There's some OCC blood. That's the main ones we have. We do have some Pharaoh blood, Kit Pharaoh's lines. However, that particular bull has caused us some problems, and Ray has actually seen it in his herd. The red gene, the red gene came out of, I think what it was, Ray, the bull we used was a registered bull, but he was on a farm where there was black and there was red Angus, and I think that I think he was half red Angus.
That makes sense.
But he was supposed to be registered black Angus, so. And that's kind of where that red gene there came from. So.
Do you ever do leader follower with your sheep, or
No.
do you manage the sheep separately?
No, we tried doing that because everybody says that's the way to do it. We found it easier to put the livestock wherever they're needed. Okay, so like right down below where the cows is at, that's a riparian area. And if we were to put the cows in that riparian area, they would make a terrible mess. And we can put the sheep in there and they won't do any damage whatsoever. So, you know, each animal is slotted for wherever they're needed the most. Emmy's got her sheep. They're not my sheep, they're her sheep. over across the road here. And I haven't seen them since before. I'll bet it's been about 25, 30 days since I've seen the sheep flock. You know, she manages the sheep flock, and you know, they like the woody plants, like the goldenrod and stuff, a little bit better than what the cows do. So we try to put them into the areas where there's lots of forb, you know.
Can you talk us through what is your process for spooling up and spooling out your fence?
We'll go out here to my buggy. I set a demonstration up that I wanted to show folks, but there's just so much to talk about. We didn't get to everything. But Lindsay and I spooled out a reel so I could demonstrate how we reel it up.
You didn't have the interior fence like you said. How would you have laid out your hydrants?
How would I lay out the hydrants? I would have went on an aerial and laid them out on a grid.
Okay.
You know, kind of like on a square grid. Now they would have probably been, you know, back whenever I did this, I was still making hay. They would still probably be on field lines, but I think that it would be better to put them in grid work, square grids. I would probably go 300 feet because a 100-foot garden hose is almost gonna get most of that. Yeah. Any more cow questions?
You stay straight Angus all the time?
No, I don't mix anything in. Now, you can see we got some Hereford in there, and there's actually some Wagyu in there. That was back early on. Whenever I started with my cow herd, I did everything artificial insemination because it just doesn't make sense to breed, you know, a small number of cows typically with a bull, especially the caliber of bull that we use. You know, I'll spend when I was started out buying bulls, spending anywhere from $5,000 to $10,000 for a bull. You know, a bull is 50% of your genetic. That, to me, that's important to have a quality animal. And that's not saying you can't get one. You can't get a quality animal a lot less. You know, you probably can. Up until we're breeding 70 cows, I did everything artificial, and we did do some time breeding where we could bring 10 in at a time and breed them. That worked pretty well, and we were at 97% success rate with our AI. If you're doing timed AI, you need to stay really close with those numbers. If you stay, 72 hours, and I can't remember what all the protocol is, but if you stay within the hour of that protocol, you're going to have a pretty good success rate. Now I've seen folks have a 20 or 30 or 40% success rate, and that was because they didn't follow the protocol close enough.
Is that 97% live or just, I mean, is that
97% AI, yeah, AI. Yeah, 97% of the cows that I bred AI caught.
Yeah, but is that 97% of the calves live?
Yeah. Yeah, we don't lose many calves. Yeah, we don't lose.
I've had bulls where, you know what I mean, you can get ridiculous with the number of calves that you'll lose.
Oh yeah, there was a couple Angus lines that I had. Those calves would come out, and you'd wonder if they were going to nurse or not. Yeah, they were just weak calves. Yeah, you're right. There is certain genetics like that, and I hate to say it, that one bull that was giving me a lot of trouble in that aspect, he was like 15 or 20% of the Angus breed. Some of these bulls, they breed several 100,000 cows with them, but like this bull was a huge number of what the Angus breed was. But yeah, that's definitely a problem.
How about shade out here? You just manage.
I call the cows that can't take it. We call the cows that can't take it. We have successfully had the cows out without shade, full sun. Now I'll go in full sun. I don't want a woods alongside. 97 degrees in full sun. Say this pasture here, I would move the cows. If we're going to get 95 degrees out, I'll move them into this field because there's no shade at all. And then what I'll do is I'll check the respirations. Okay, if our respirations get above 100, then I'll take them to shade if necessary. And it's usually one or two that cause the problems. You'll be able to identify the ones that stress quicker than the others. Where I found to have the most problem is in May and in September. May, they're still usually carrying their winter coat, and then September, they're starting to grow their winter coat. So if we get an 85-degree day here in, say the beginning of October, they may stress a little bit. Yeah, they may stress a little bit. Now the sheep, we really don't do anything for sheep. Yeah, we typically don't do much for sheep.
You go well away from the shade just so they're not congregating.
Yeah, because if we had them in this field, they're going to see those trees over there, and they'll go down there and they'll stand right along that fence. And the reason I started doing that, because I used to put alleyways to where they could get back to shade. If you look at their grazing behavior and the way the cows graze and the sheep are very similar, their largest meals in the first thing in the morning, their next largest meals right before dark. So the problem that I had, I'd set alleyways up and I would watch their behavior. Those cows, it's usually around 6:30, 7 o'clock whenever I move those cows in the morning, and they would graze until about 9 o'clock. They would go stand in the shade and rumate until 1 o'clock. And if you look at the grazing behavior, 1 o'clock's where they start grazing again. At 1 o'clock, the heat of the day, they're out here grazing. And it's like, you dirty rats, you don't need that shade. So what I've done is I had a couple here that was really bad, that couldn't take the heat, so that we called them. Yeah. Yeah, I find it's a lot easier just to call the ones that can't do it, If they can't take the shade, get them out of here. If I was finishing, I might look at it a little differently. I am finishing a few here and there. If I was finishing, I might look at it a little differently, maybe maybe somehow put a shade cloth on my wagons, probably is what I'd do. For the reason for that is because once that manure is in those trees, there's no bringing that nutrient back out. You know, because you see the manure distribution we have here on, you know, we got cow poop everywhere. You know, that's the ultimate goal, is to have cow poop everywhere out here where the grass can utilize those nutrients versus in the shade someplace.
Are you going to talk about windbreak?
Yeah, we can go talk about that. Whatever you guys want. Like I said, I'd rather. It's fine, they're not going to come back. And I'll come over here in the morning and they'll be all out.